Okay? I like bread. All right. Here we go.
You're listening to Movie Reviews and More with Brian Sebastian, only on LA Talk Radio.
Here we are. It's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, live around the world. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here. I got to thank Provincial Vodka, Stair Cosmetics, The Restroom Kit, Linda Steele from Chicago, No Hate, and everybody like that. Tree Sisters, got to give a special shout out because I like them because of Zorianna Kit. Sea Shepherd, obviously, www.seashepherd.com. Please go on there and donate to them. It's a great cause.
.org, sorry.
.org.
Don't mean to interrupt.
That's right. And Third Wolf Design from Denver, got to thank them. Jenny Wolf Fitness, Dunkin' Donuts, Abington Watches, who was just on the show not too long ago. Thank you, everybody, supporting us, Movie Reviews and More. Let's get down to it. Zorianna Kit is here. I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves because we got a full crowd again. Elena, we met Celebrity Connected Gifting Suite. Who knew that you knew everybody around the table one way or another, right? Who knew that you guys were both in Marvel films, right? Who knew?
Exactly.
1, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, right? Yes. Jacqueline, saw your film, loved it. We got 2 Murphys here. I didn't plan that one either, so who knew?
That was good work, Brian.
Well, I don't want to take that kind of credit, but you got a great film.
Oh,
that's the whole thing called Admired.
The Admired. You can check it out, theadmired.com. And delighted to be here. Oh, gosh, thank you. And this is a critic over here, so lucky me that he's already showing my film.
Yeah, then I'm going to watch it.
And hopefully I'll be in Iron Man 3.
Well, who knows? Well, who knows? And we got to thank Bob Strauss for being here because I love always having Bob on the show. And because of his busy time and his schedule, it's an honor to have him here. Obviously, Murphy, got to thank her, Gayl Murphy, because we haven't done a show together. We've been doing interviews for years together.
Oh, how come? We talk, you know what? We're just like everybody else. We talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. We got to do it. So
and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And then obviously co-host number 7, because there's 10 female co-hosts, so we have to honor them. And she's going to Germany, New York, and I think India too. Gwenn Wunderlich, obviously. So I want to thank everybody from here. Let's start with Jacqueline. Tell us why you're here, where you came from, and about this great film that I've been telling everybody about since last year.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Glad to be here with this great group of people, and happy holidays, and everybody out there wishing you a great new year. My film, The Admired, I made my directorial debut in it in 2016. I wrote, produced, directed, and starred. Thank you for that applause. And it's a labor of love. It's about my fascination with old Hollywood and Veronica Lake in particular. And I make a deal with the handsome devil, and I travel back to 1940s Hollywood and become a big movie star. But all is not what it seems. We have all original music by composer Rue Folguera. And we've just been blessed to be on the film festival circuit for 8 months. We've won 40 awards.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And I took this 20-minute film and I made it into 6 4-minute webisodes, and we were part of the Emmy race for your consideration. So I keep shape-shifting it, and now I'm making it into a TV series. So it's just been a labor of love and a creative passion for me, and just great collaborating with my cast and crew, and very grateful to be on your show.
Talk about being at the film festivals, because that's not an easy route. I know what it's like to pick a lot of those films, but this was the gem, and you were out there way ahead of before anybody really had a chance to see it. Talk about that. That's really important.
Well, the funny thing was, I went to a festival at Gorman's Chinese Theater, and Brian happened to be there. And we started to talk, and he said, well, I'd like to see your film. So he kind of took a great interest in it.
That's because it was good.
And thank you. And it's that kind of like word of mouth, like Tracy Lynn Cohen also. I met her at the Action on Film Festival in Vegas. She saw it and she liked it. I was on her show. So it's sort of getting like word of mouth, which is kind of cool when people start to talk about it and really like it, which means the world to me. We started in February in London at the London Film Festival, and I won Best Lead Actress, Best Original Screenplay. We won the jury award. Oh, thank you. We won the jury award at the Burbank Film Festival. Shout out to the home area, Jeff Rector and the crew there.
Valley Man.
Huh?
I'm the Valley paper. Valley Man.
Oh, Valley Man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we also won the jury award in Berlin and Milan. And Cannes, we won Best Costume. Sue Wong gave me 30 gowns of hers for the film.
Wow.
She was all set to make a cameo appearance, but she had to go to Vegas, but she wants to be part of the next one. But she's won a few awards as well. So it's nice to see the people that you've collaborated with win awards, and it's just nice to be part of a project where everybody's excited about it and interested. And I think everybody loves, well, not everybody, but many people love old Hollywood. And so I just hope to continue working on that theme. And
what made you decide to wear so many hats? Is it because you are first and foremost an actor and you wanted to write and direct something to showcase that ability, or was the goal to always direct and you couldn't find the right actor, so you decided that you'd be the best person to play that? Or was there a burning screenplay inside that you were very protective of and then decided that it would be best to wear all those hats to realize that vision?
My mentor at Warner Brothers, when I ran it by him that I had wrote this project, The Admired, he said, "Why don't you direct it?" And I was a little daunted by it. And he actually encouraged me to do that. And I interviewed various cinematographers, and when I found one that I really liked and I was comfortable with, I went with that. But what I also did, my first AD had directed me in a film, and I felt very comfortable with him. And I said, you know, I'm going to be on camera, and I want to direct this. Will you have my back? Leo Andronov. So he was terrific. And our DP was Igor Pavlatsky, and he was also excellent. But, you know, the points that you brought up became more apparent to me as I started shooting it, and even more so now. I was telling Elena that as I got more involved in the project, I was so relieved when I decided to make it into a web series, and I was the only lead producer on it, and I didn't have to ask somebody else to do it. So that kind of creative control, it's really exhilarating when you know you have in your heart a dream and you have the vision, and you're like, oh my God, I want to do this with it, but I didn't have to ask anybody else. So, and also protecting the script and my vision, and it was a nice vehicle for me to be in, and I really did want to play the role. I had fantasized about playing this character forever, being a Veronica Lake type. And you know, I remember growing up watching Rita Hayworth and Gilda singing original music on stage and flicking your hair back and thinking when I was 6, I want to do that.
And you did.
So, you know,
that's great.
That was the plus side of it.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, the special effects are in there. That's really what caught my attention for a short film. I'm like, this is brilliant, because how much money did they have to spend, and you're not used to seeing that for short films.
You know, that is so nice of you to say. The special effects, you know, this project was like a baby with a personality to me, and it kept revealing itself. When I got done editing it, my editor, Dave Bartlett, looked at me and he said, you know, I said, I feel like there has to be some magic in this. And we discussed it, and we said, yeah, we need, you know, special effects, you know. And I thought, oh my God, another expense, just because I was the person paying for the whole film. And our biggest, you know, finances came when it had to do with the Cicada Club. That gave it the production value of being in old Hollywood. The music, my original music, was very important. I wrote the lyrics to 2 out of 3 of the songs. So the visual effects gave it the magic. And I found our visual effects supervisor, Mike Vlacity, at the table, which is a great source for filmmakers. And for a very inexpensive amount, I think he did a great job. We have the devil, his eyes have blue rays coming out of it as he hypnotizes me, and his hands have magical powers, and that also helps with the time travel, because I go from modern times back to 1940s. So it was a very important element to add, and I don't think if we hadn't done it, I don't think it would have had the same journey for the audience. And you buy into the fantasy a little bit more because of that.
Well, you made the right choice, because look what you did around the world. That's not easy to do.
That's so sweet.
And my hat goes off. Again, strong woman, producing, directing, acting, and I love stuff like that. I think it's really, really important.
Oh, I appreciate your support. I really do. Yeah, and that's the whole idea of this film. I want to empower my niece. I want to empower all women and men. You know, if my nephews, I say, look, and Jackie had a dream, and I put it together, and you can do that too. So the character Olivia in episodes going forward, she thinks that if she has the devil read her tarot cards, that's what's going to make her future happening. She makes a deal with him. But the point is, I want Olivia to find out the resources are in herself. So in episodes going forward, I want, you know, to show like audiences and make them think that look within yourself to find out what you can create and how you can make your own dream happen. So basically that's the message of the film.
That's beautiful.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Elena, you talk about doing what you did. That's not easy to do dialects and to teach. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can do that. I can't act. Zorianna can act, but I can't act.
No, I can. No, I would not say that I can. I can be a journalist because that's what I am at heart. But yeah, I can't pretend to be much other than that.
Well, dialects are part of the actor's work with the characters, so you kind of come in and help them to create the character through dialect. And the difficulty sometimes is that you also have to teach the language at the same time, and you come in a pretty early stage when very often the actors don't have their character down yet, so it kind of gets woven in. So it's a lot of support to give to the actor at the same time as creating the character, helping to create the character, and it's fascinating to see how that emerges.
Well, you also wear many hats too. Talk about how you got here.
Well, how I started in the film business actually as an actress. That was very, very young, and I kind of went away from that and became a dialect coach at some point 20 years ago, and I've done that for many, many years.
Specializing in Russian?
Specializing in Russian, Slavic accents, most of European accents, but and Russian language as well. And I took a little turn away from that, and because I was trained originally as a painter, so I wanted to do something visually creative. So I became a costume designer. I was a member of the guild for many years and designed over 20 movies as an assistant and as a designer, and then went back to dialect coaching, and then subsequently
You got called back.
I got called back. I basically got pulled back by a couple of film, prominent film actors, movie stars.
Can you mention who they are?
Yes, Gary Oldman.
Yep.
I ran into him on the set of when I was working on The Saint in Pinewood Studios, and I was in the wardrobe trailer, and he said, "Oh, darling, this is not good. Come back. We'll sit in a trailer, we'll smoke cigarettes, we'll tell stories, and you'll teach me Russian." and off I went to do Air Force One with him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that must have been Air Force One.
And
Yeah,
then,
that's great.
Yeah, then I got to work with amazing Mickey Rourke on Iron Man,
Mm-hmm.
and Keanu Reeves on John Wick.
Who keeps calling you
Oh,
back?
wow.
Yeah, and I just worked with him again on his new movie. And I worked with Charlize Theron on Atomic Blonde, and I did the whole gamut of characters on Die Hard 5.
Yeah.
And that was a big job.
Yeah.
And I started producing, so I've produced a feature film called Nine's Cloud a couple of years ago. It's done very well in the festivals and is available on iTunes. It's directed by Jane Spencer. And produced a short last year called Albedo Absolute, which has now been in over 36 festivals, and co-produced a feature which was derivative of that short, which is not out yet. And I have another feature called Red River, which is a whole female team. My producing partner, Amy Williams, and it's directed by amazing director Sarah Hallowell, and we're planning to shoot this spring in Kentucky. So I'm busy.
This is what's interesting about Ukraine, Russian women. You guys work your asses off. You guys got your hands in everything. That amazes me.
Well, you just kind of have to, and there is so many extraordinary things that you can do, and I think I've always was envious of people who concentrate on one thing. I had a friend who was a biologist, and he was at his lab in Columbia University, and that's all he did. And I was just, in a lot of ways, envious that he had this amazing passion for one thing, and that's what he did all the time. And I've always had to, oh, I would love to do this, and I would love to do that. And you don't want to spread yourself too thin because you want to kind of get somewhere with it. But it's hard to stop to see when an opportunity comes along. And with producing, I think what happens is that all my knowledge of film, different aspects of film, is kind of pulling together. And that's why it's fascinating for me to do. And I'm really, really grateful for being here.
I'm glad you guys are here, actually, young ladies. Murphy.
Yeah, baby.
Talk about how you started in ABC
You got to say
radio.
Gayl Murphy, because I'm in industry and I'm trying to brand myself. And just because we know each other for, 107 years, and you were
And you
just
gotta
a
distinguish her
baby
from
when we
this
met.
Murphy.
Well, yes. Like I said, I didn't plan that, two Murphys, but I'm glad there's
That's
two
it.
Murphys
No, I'm
here.
sure they're
So
sisters.
That's my sister from
related some
another
kind of
mother.
way.
Yeah.
going back to when you started,
Yeah.
ABC Radio, what was that like for you?
Oh my gosh.
You were there for a long time.
Well, radio, when I first started, there were 36 major station groups.
Yeah.
In a variety of different sizes, but CBS, NBC, ABC. There were so many. Now I think there's 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they say video killed the radio star. No, it was called consolidation.
Yep.
Killed the radio star. So when we were growing up, radio was a localized phenomenon. Now you don't know where it's originating from. So it's just very, very different. I didn't leave radio. Radio left me. I just left the country, basically. And now I worked for ABC News for 20. I started here in LA at K-Rock, went to K-West. K-Rock was great because I did comedy on the radio, and I was a stand-up comedian and doing comedy at the Comedy Store.
I couldn't see
So
that.
I took one of my characters, Greta
You still
Lagumbo, who is a German dominatrix, and did her on this very insane show
I
on
met her.
K-Rock. That's right.
Yeah.
You have been a very naughty boy.
Before you got married.
And so I went to at K-West. I was the traffic tootsie on the LA freeway of
Oh, I
your
remember that.
life. And then I went to KLOS, and I became the only on location live rock radio reporter in Los Angeles for about 19 years. But 2 weeks after I started at KLOS, the guy that was consulting KLOS was also consulting ABC on this new infant baby network they were putting together called the Rock Radio Network. And if I worked for them, I could make $25 a piece for each story that I created for them, and I could do like 8 of those in a week in a coma.
Wow.
So I was flying high, and I owned all my own content. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did that, and then ABC got bought by Disney. And I just took a hard right turn and went to work for BBC.
And you saw it coming,
and then
luckily,
Sky.
too. You saw it coming also, too.
Well, I saw it coming because I saw what was happening with the labels.
Not everybody saw it coming, though. You
I
saw it
saw what
coming.
was happening
I saw
with the
what was happening,
labels.
too, yeah.
And I mean, I met so many women who were so bright and so strong and so well accomplished working for one label. And the competition was so fierce that they had almost, and I'm only speaking very generally, people didn't have networks at that time. And also, the people that worked for Atlantic didn't necessarily network for the people that worked for Capitol unless they had a friend or something like that. There wasn't like women in the record business. There was nothing like that. So I watched these women who had started as an intern, and now 20 years later or 25 years later, with that consolidation, they were like 48 years old and had absolutely no network to go to once they got pushed out the door. So they had no one to say, so who do you know? Which is the beautiful, beautiful, shining glory things about networking and networks. And actually for me, and I almost hate to say it because I'm not a fan of her music, but it was the reinvention of Madonna, who was consistently reinventing herself depending on the day, the month, the year, the product, whatever that was she was selling. I thought, well, all power is meant to be stolen. I will just take a little dollop of that for myself.
I give her that credit
Yes.
too. She was always involving it, so we did learn from that.
Sure. So she was a tremendous marketer. So I've reinvented myself within the same industry. You know, it's interesting. You talk about this friend that you admire that just does one thing. Nobody ever does one thing. It's only from the outside that it appears that they're doing one thing, but they're using about 12 parts of their brain at the same time. And so, people would say to me, "What are you just staying in radio?" No, let's see. There's local, there's national, there's international, there's country, there's rhythm and blues. I mean, I used to go to, you remember, I used to go to junkets where I was the only white girl, and they say, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" Well, you're white. You're covering black music. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll fly up to the Bay Area and talk to MC Hammer for an afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. So, and I had clients that were just strictly R&B, but the radio was a very segregated device, very segregated business.
That's kind of probably why we became friends. I was the only black guy at all the white junkets. I didn't. No, seriously. She was there. I didn't get invited to the black films. There was only 11 of them. There was never 12 in 1 year. Always 11.
Well, black films always had black music.
You know what they said to me?
Yeah.
They said, "Brian, I can say her name because I don't care."
Say it.
It was Sony. No, it wasn't her. It was Susan Indry from Paramount. She goes, "These were the days when they called you on the phone." And I'm on the phone. "Can I get invited to the movie called The Wood? Because I know my friends read." She goes, "I'm sorry, Brian, you're not a black outlet, so I can't invite you." I had the phone in my right hand, and I'm looking at my hand, goes, "But I'm still black." I said that on the phone to her.
Yeah.
And there was nobody around to acknowledge us. And I'm
Yeah.
like, she goes, "I'm sorry." She hangs up on the phone on me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So I said, okay, I will never be a black outlet. I won't go to any of those things till this
Yeah.
day. I've never covered NAACP or the Emmy, none of that because of
BET,
that.
none of that
I've
stuff.
not done any. Now they're
I was a
calling.
mainstay for years
I
at
never
BET.
did any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I
Well,
refuse to be put in that box.
Well, why
Yeah.
can't you do both now?
Oh, now they're calling, but
yeah, but we're
They-
too busy.
yeah,
We're just too damn busy.
they're calling now. But
Now
then
he's white
there's like-
famous.
So I said what Gayl said. I'm like, well, there's 325 feature films out there, so I'll go the only 11 black films.
Yeah.
And I did.
You know what? You pull back
But
the
one of them's the best film of the year.
Get
Yeah.
out.
Well, you have
Get
to be,
out.
Now.
you have to
Yeah.
be very careful when you pull back the rock, because what you see under that rock, and you get to see the soft white underbelly or soft black underbelly, is not necessarily anything you want to see. It's very, very, very segregated. So God love Ava DuVernay, who
Yes,
we
exactly,
knew
who was a
years
publicist.
ago,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
we love.
We all
and
worked
She
with
used to
her.
We
invite
all
me to
worked with
everything.
her.
She was that
Yep.
one
Yeah.
woman that said, yes, she let me do TV.
With her you could do anything, because she's just such a smart cookie, and she saw the world through the eyes of a wise woman.
Yeah.
When my film critics group, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association, gave her, I don't know, a newcomer award, new generation award, I think it was, a couple of years ago. When she was accepting it, she got up on that stage and not only gave a shout out to every individual member of the LA Film Critics Association, but said something very specific about working with each one of us back when she was a publicist,
Yeah.
and dead on right about each of us too.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I ran into her at the BBC Oscar, come to our party at the Four Seasons, so, maybe you'll vote for us. actually ran...
What? I have no
Zorianna's
idea they did that.
I actually ran into her, and we just like smacked into each other. We're like, oh my God. And we hugged each other, and we stopped, and I said, listen, sister, I got to tell you something. I am so frickin' proud of you. I am so happy for you and proud of you. And she was like, and
Think
that's when
about
you know
that.
it's real.
Well, think about that. How many journalists have made that jump to a filmmaker or director? Her, Rod Laurie.
Rod Laurie. Absolutely.
Francois Truffaut.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's maybe 5. That's it.
And
And the
Rod-
other guy from Paramount who did the other film, White People.
and Rod is just
Peter
just
Bogdanovich.
a lovely
Yeah.
guy too.
Yeah.
Very just full of
Cameron
gratitude.
Crowe.
Yeah.
Cameron.
There you go.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
5.
kind of sideways, but yeah.
He was my neighbor.
absolutely.
That's how I know him. He was my neighbor.
So, Gwen, there's hope for everybody. You being from German descent and coming over here, being that actress and doing stuff and doing co-hosting, there's hope. But you get a chance to see and learn from these people, which I think is great, especially from filmmakers and consultants and things like that, and obviously us journalists. That's a good thing.
No, you're not going to learn anything from me.
Yeah. He might be reviewing your film some one day. That's the whole thing about that. So.
Oh, he's my Yoda, let me tell you.
Tell us, older, younger people, where you came from.
Well, I'm from Germany, and I always loved acting when I was little, but I never really thought like that's something I could actually do, because it's like being an astronaut, you know, like somebody does it, but me, like, what? And then my mother actually was the person who's like, why don't you do acting? You're like looking in so many directions to what you want to do, but your passion's always been acting. You like act all the time, so why don't you go do it? And I'm like, that's something I can do? Like, really? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll give it a try. So I applied at the acting schools that I thought, okay, like, if this is my way, I want to go to the best acting schools. So I like researched where the actors that I think are good have learned, and ended up applying at Lee Strasberg. And so I applied there, and they accepted me, which is why I went to New York. So I started studying there, and there's 2 great years in New York, and it was very cold in the winter, so I'm like, I need to follow the sunshine, so I came to LA, and I'm still doing it, so.
And she started doing interviews, and one of the interviews that, and you don't know this, is at Celebrity Connected, the Emmys gifting suite. You interviewed Agnes Mo, who's the #1 social media person in all of Indonesia, and she has 13 million followers on her Instagram and 17 million on her Twitter. So you did the interview, because I'm like, you got to interview this girl. We don't know who she is.
Yeah.
A month ago, that interview with bad sound is at 9,123 views in 1 month with no promotion. And so she's coming on the show.
Did you say with bad sound?
Yeah, because we were using a new camera person, so the sound came up 9,123 views. That was you who did that. You had the first interview with her. But there was no media there for that. So I had all 4 of the girls there. So Kat Lopez did the second one. That's at 1,153 views right now, and we shared it. So it was all about tagging for social media for stuff. So again, the publicist saw that, and so she wants to come on the show mid-February in time for the Grammys, which is good. So that's why I was really, really happy about that, because again, giving someone a chance to do something, they make them look good, and that's a good thing. Bob, talk to us about films coming up and stuff like that. So what haven't you seen?
Nothing. I've seen them all.
Yes. You guys released your nominees list, or your winners list today, right?
Who? Which guys?
LA film critics. Oh,
we voted on them like the first week of the month.
He's like, what critic? What? I belong to so many. I can't keep track.
Yeah. Well, but LA Film Critics is one to take seriously.
There was a press release that I got today announcing.
Yes, and I can't even remember what one. But I think, because I've had to see so many movies and think about them since then. I believe Call Me By Your Name was our top pick.
I love
and
that.
And then
film.
I think Shape of Water.
Overrated. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was I love the filmmaker so much. I'll always see anything and everything that he makes. But everyone talked this movie like it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I thought it was overwrought. I thought it was so hitting you over the head with the themes. I was disappointed.
Well, when you hear the filmmaker actually sit across the table from you and talk about what the ingredients in the cake, after you've seen the movie, and I had some questions about the movie, but being informed by what he had to say, I had no more questions.
I just thought, okay, teal, ocean, all the colors, okay, we get it. It's an aqua creature. Let's hit that point home 100 times.
So
you've never seen water used that way in a movie before?
Okay, I've never seen a flooded bathroom being used as a opportunity to have interplanetary sex.
Interspecies. Let's be specific here.
Yeah.
And you actually haven't seen that much interspecies sex on screen before, but not one with this much emotion behind it, not one with this much understanding of what she sees in this creature, what she needs from life. Right. That was all built up so beautifully, and all of that, not only her personal story, which of course is the beating heart of the whole thing, but the way he captures, and this is a Mexican filmmaker, grew up in Guadalajara, the way he captures American attitudes from that very specific year of 1962, and then just with incredible imagination distributes that Cold War paranoia, that macho feeling, that indeed, look at this person, look at that person. They're not the same as me. They were not stock. They were completely humanized and individualized.
Feel that at
So, Jacqueline, Elena, would you see this movie? Have you seen it?
I've seen it, and I have a question. My question was he influenced by the Soviet writer Belyaev, who had a story, and Soviets made a movie about it, and based on that story, and then I think the Russians remade it recently, which was called Amphibian Man, which is science fiction kind of movie about a man who was his father, who was a scientist, had created this man with the fins and with the breathing system of a fish. And he could only be outside for a certain amount of time and had to go back in the water. And there's a love story weaved into it. And there's all sorts of different things that are happening in that story. But as I was watching it, I was going, I wonder if that influenced him.
There's also a short film that came out, well, maybe around 2006. Don't hold me to that. But that apparently has a lot of the similar elements to The Shape of Water. According to Guillermo, he first got influenced when he saw a Creature from the Black Lagoon and wanted something Adams. I can't remember the actress's name.
Amy Adams?
No. This is 1956. Julie Adams, I think. Maybe. I don't know. An actress named Adams. And the creature swimming around and him chasing her and all that. And all Guillermo wanted to do was see them get together by the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So this started percolating then. I believe the question has been posed to Guillermo. He hadn't seen the short film that has similarities to it. And I think there's some evidence that the initial draft of the script, was finished before then. I don't know anything about this Russian.
But his desire.
It's the trailer for Arrival and the trailer for Shape of Water are very similar, right down to the use of sign language, to the hand.
That's what
on
I
the
thought
glass.
it was. I thought it was a
And
part two.
Arrival did it way better. I mean,
not at all. Arrival.
Not at all.
Arrival was dull and grungy looking.
So, Jacqueline, this is what happens when you do interviews and you have critics. This is what we talk about.
Right, I know.
Wonderful.
Richard Jenkins' character
was terrific.
No, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is bothering me. Richard Jenkins' character, we were supposed to instantly somehow feel sorry for him. Oh, I had a drinking problem and my career is in the dust, so give me another chance. And why? We were told how to feel instead of being led to feeling a certain
have
way.
you seen The Post yet?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's a movie that tells you how to feel.
Exactly, overly heavy-handed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mean,
I didn't feel that in this at all.
After watching The Florida Project, which was so genuine and
I
so
absolutely
awful,
agree with
which
you.
was
so
awful.
pure.
Oh, now Gayl.
So pure.
Now Gayl. Now I got to bring it to
Hold
you.
on. Jacqueline, you were going to say something. You got to say something.
I was watching Guillermo talk about his passion for The Shape of Water. And he invested his own money to create that creature.
Right.
And that really touched me. And I have not seen the movie yet, but just based on the trailer, I watched the first time I was a little put off, and the more I watched it, I felt opposite to what you're saying, the humanity of the relationships and this woman who connected with this creature on another level. There was something really moving and humane about it. And then fast forward to her costume. I was at a Landmark Theater last night. We were, my husband and I went to see Annette Bening in Film Stars Don't
Fabulous.
Fabulous,
Fabulous.
right?
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yes, but they
Old
had
Hollywood.
Old Hollywood.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
right. Gloria
Yes.
Graham, which
Yeah.
is what The Admired's about. But the costume, they had the costume of the woman in The Shape of Water there, and a maroon jacket with a little maroon butterfly on the lapel. And I think there's something about her that is like a moth changing into a butterfly, just from the trailer, what I see, that
Absolutely.
wants me to go see the movie.
The film is essentially about the other. And the other, and how we treat the other.
Come on, a cleaning lady has access. The way those doors open with
You
a
have to allow
huge
yourself
bang
the
and a thud.
imagination.
No one notices that she goes in there. She's feeding the guy. She's feeding
It's
the
about an
creature
amphibious
eggs.
fish man,
I
and
mean,
you're worried
come
about
on.
how realistic is it?
I mean, I just thought everything was
It's a metaphor.
totally.
In my movie, I
No.
time travel. So if you don't come with me on the journey, you know, you're going to think I'm a crazy person. So you have to, like, give the
But and we loved Get Out, right?
I loved Get Out,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
But this
here's my
movie
favorite
was
film.
overwrought. It was trying to.
I'll give you that,
Yeah,
but I
overwrought.
like the way it was overwrought. It
See,
was
I-
overwrought
see, I
in a
didn't.
beautiful way, and
I
that,
didn't.
well, maybe because
That's a hard
she-
thing to pull off. I usually don't like overwrought either, but
Maybe
this one,
because she was mute.
Did you
like
it
Star
had to be
Wars?
overwrought or
The
in
new
that
Star Wars?
way
Yeah.
of communicating.
I actually did.
I did too.
Okay, I loved the
That
new
was
Star Wars. I'm not a
overwrought,
Star
but I
Wars
liked
fan, and I loved it. I actually
Well,
saw
that's
it
me
twice.
too. Yeah.
I saw it twice, and I.
This
Yeah,
is the
video.
first one that's an actual work of cinema.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People are so split about it because I was watching different comments. Friends' comments on Facebook. Everybody's like, "Oh, don't tell me what's going on. No spoilers, no spoilers." But eventually, people start commenting, and it's amazing. It's completely split in the middle.
I know that's interesting, but I don't know why they're split.
I mean,
Completely
it had problems too. I mean, they Benicio del Toro, and then they just drop him off like a bad hamburger.
Maybe you'll be back in the next one. I
but-
hope so.
There's another
You know,
one?
but it wasn't. I didn't. I forgive them easily. I forgive them. For
All right,
the-
I'm going to take you back to Shape of Water. Octavia Spencer's husband comes out of nowhere, betrays her, and
yeah.
disappears.
She talks
We
about him.
She's
never-
talking about him all
I
the
know,
time.
but we never meet him or see him. We don't
Only
even
when
know
we
he
Well, we
exists.
meet him when we need to.
It's
It's not
totally-
overwrought. It's practical. the
So
way
here's
they
my
use
question,
him.
Gwen,
Yeah.
would you go see this movie? This is
Of course she would.
12 years ago.
No,
was
go
the worst
see it.
blockbuster.
I'm not.
No.
I'm not saying don't go see it. I'm
No,
saying
the reason
this
I
is
asked
how
because
I
it's been a
felt.
bad year for
I
movies.
love the filmmaker. This
No, it
was not-
hasn't, Brian.
Oh, it's
Yes,
been a terrible
yes.
a
year.
wonderful year.
It's been a terrible year. This has been the worst year in 12 years for moviegoings.
12 years.
In the last 12 years, this has been the worst year.
2005?
Yeah.
What was that in 2005? I can't even remember.
See?
What was my favorite
I think they
movie of
waited to release a
2005?
lot of the great movies.
2 weeks ago, there was nothing in the
Right.
theater.
Yeah.
In the month of December, nothing?
All right. Top two films of the what are your top two films of the year?
No, that's like number 8. No, I didn't like that much. Talk about overwrought.
Which one? Which one did you
Three
say?
Billboards.
Oh, that's a great film.
It's a great film.
All right.
did too.
It's an overwrought film that's not as beautifully overwrought as The Shape of Water. But anyway, my two favorites
Yeah.
this year, I guess my top two are
Molly's
Get
okay.
Out, of course, and that's really the top one. And then my number 2 film was a movie about Emily Dickinson called A Quiet Passion.
Interesting.
And it's just marvelously crafted. Cynthia Nixon plays Dickinson. Beautifully shot. They actually shot it in Belgium. And something about that, it has a very Vermeer quality to the lighting. I know we're dealing with different centuries here, but it is kind of perfect for 19th century Massachusetts. And of many great films about the creative process that came out this year, this is the belle of the ball.
Right.
It's a historical thing. Some people may be bored by it, but the intelligence going on, the way these very, very smart people, but very much within the context of their culture at the time, kind of in very civilized ways, go at each other. And the way Cynthia Nixon just gets Dickinson's, incredible, what do you say it, enthusiasm for life and the universe and all that in the early parts, and then you gradually see her deteriorate and become the recluse and all that and cut herself away from the world, basically. It's perfectly modulated, really beautifully done. This English director, Terence Davies, who is probably best known for kind of his autobiographical films about growing up gay in Liverpool in the 40s and 50s. He just got her, man, and did a marvelous job with it.
Did you like Darkest Hours? Darkest Hour?
No.
You didn't. What'd you think of Gary Oldman's performance?
He was pretty good, despite how badly the movie was written.
Mm-hmm.
What about Dunkirk?
Yeah, Dunkirk was something else, that's for sure.
So who's your actor?
Who's my actor? Well, I have a lot of
Best
actors.
actor of the year.
Oh, well, I guess I feel about equally impressed, for very different reasons, by Timothée Chalamet. And,
oh my gosh, I loved him.
Call Me By Your Name. Yeah.
And then when you compare to his smaller role in Lady Bird, all of a
he's
sudden you
terrific
get,
in that,
you're just like, this is not a one-hit wonder.
And I will just add, in this cool Western that's opening Friday, Hostels, he's in that.
He's in that too?
He's in that, speaking French, and I don't know how good he is in it because he's one of the first of many people who get killed off in that.
Spoiler!
But anyway, no.
Yeah.
No, pretty much everybody gets killed off in that.
What did you think of Molly's Game?
Well,
Aaron Sorkin's directing debut?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic.
And,
better writer than director?
He done good. Aaron, you did good.
Shout out for Aaron.
Well, now last year there was a Jessica Chastain Walking and Talking movie that was nowhere near as well written as Molly's Game.
Okay.
But to me, Molly's Game had kind of
the one that was shot in Toronto, where she was the
Miss something.
Yeah, Miss Brown or Miss
something. I don't know.
That was an Aaron Sorkin wannabe. Like
right.
And
I was by a first-time writer.
Walking and talking, and I was like, oh my God, this script's trying so hard to be like Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
And then
and this one actually is one,
Yeah.
and it involves a lot of Jessica Chastain walking and talking. Yeah. No one can do that better than Jessica Chastain. But there is so much talking in it that after
except during the poker game, she's just hiding in the shadows, just lurking.
Well, we all need a break at that point.
I thought she was lovely.
There's so much dialogue and so much talking in it, and it's always trying to be so damn smart that after a while, it just seems kind of false, and I stopped caring about what was happening to Molly or her game.
And there you go, Bob Strauss, LA Daily News. Yeah. Gayl?
Yeah.
What's your top?
Interestingly enough, I really loved. Oh God, I had two movies that I saw at AFI: The Leisure Seeker, and Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. Jamie Bell.
That was really something.
Blew my mind. I loved the
Jamie Bell.
Yeah.
The lover.
For the people who haven't seen it, describe what it is.
Well, it's the story of Gloria Graham, the last month or so of her life. And so it's a flashback.
And
but
she was a Hollywood movie star.
She was a Hollywood.
50s
Go ahead.
And won an Oscar for supporting actress.
Yep.
And Bob Hope gave her the Oscar, and she just picked it up, said thank you, and kept walking. And he made a funny little joke, like, "Oh, okay." She made no acceptance speech. It was, I think, probably the one and only time that anybody's ever accepted an award, and just picked it up and walked off the stage.
And she was right up there with like Lauren Bacall.
Yes, and Friendly with
Yes.
I don't know who else you'd say, because they were like the top two film noir dames back in the day. She's the one who Lee Marvin threw the hot coffee in her face in the Big Heat.
The sexy girl.
Yeah,
She
all of
committed
that.
the felony
and she was
offense of getting over 50. I know. You're better off being a child molester than a woman getting over 50.
Well, she was kind of that too.
Well, she has this.
It's the reverse call me by your name.
But it was very poignant and touching.
She has a love relationship with a man about 25 years younger than her, played by Jamie Belle. That was so inspiring, and he was devoted to her.
Jamie Belle was in
Billy Elliot. Yeah.
And he waited 17 years to have his career come to this. To get his, because when you're a child actor, it takes some time to transition into an adult. So, and he was very moving.
And for her, I suspect it was a joy and a pleasure because he was so developed and so, and his acting was so internal but externally demonstrated that she got to sort of surf on top of him. So I suspect she had a great time because...
Surfing on top of him?
Yeah,
I'm sure she had a great time surfing on top of him.
Gloria Graham liked to do that too. Have we mentioned that Annette Bening plays Gloria Graham in this?
She got to take her time.
Yeah.
She really took her time. He did all the heavy lifting for her. Not that she didn't do heavy lifting at all.
Oh, she was perfect.
She was perfect. And then, of course, Donald Sutherland and Helen Mirren in The Leisure Seekers, which is an older couple who have been married forever, and the husband is suffering from Alzheimer's. And later on in the movie, we find out that the wife has cancer, and they decide to do one last crazy thing, and they had this old kind of falling apart motorhome, and they took off unbeknownst to their kids. It drove them crazy. They're adult children, and decided to go to Florida, to the Florida Keys. And, he was seriously in his dementia, in and out of it. And there were such sweet scenes. They would pull up to the camps where all the motorhomes would be, and she'd set up a screen and slides, and she would explain to him who each person was and where they were and what they were doing. And she was just, she was a bee. She was a mama bee, doing everything and putting him together. And she had this whole thing about she had cancer that she never even told him about, and even so he wouldn't even have remembered. So just watching these two pros was just fantastic.
And
Star Wars.
And the late Dick Gregory, his last movie role, that one scene in the nursing home, wasn't that great?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was pretty terrific.
So now you guys have heard from critics. This is what it's like. This is what it's like when we're arguing about film festivals that nobody sees behind. That's why it's an honor to have yours win, because it's the same thing, except we do it on the phone because people are in different states, sometimes different countries. Very, very interesting.
I have to say, when your work gets acknowledged, it's just such a satisfying feeling, and you just feel like, wow, like someone took the time to look at my film, but not only that, they liked it, or they found something in it that moved them, or that it meant something to them, or they enjoyed some moment of it. So even a quote from Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool, Annette Bening, playing Gloria Graham, says, Bogey told her when she was acting to stay in the shadows. And, as an actor, Gwen, you are wanting to come out and work more. Even for me, I have been Screen Actors Guild since 1983, when I hear things like that, it just reminds you, you want the audience to come to you. You want to surprise people. You want it to be a performance that just somehow gets to someone in a way they never expected, and they didn't know that was part of their life or their emotional being. So something that they didn't know that they needed or wanted to experience inside of themselves. So
I thought there was a lot. I thought there were a lot of films that. I remember filling out my ballot for the broadcast film critics, and there just wasn't enough room.
What about the disaster artists? Did anybody see that?
Oh my
God!
Oh my gosh!
Hated it.
So pretentious. just could not stand it.
Yeah.
But you know what?
It was goddamn great.
Sorry, James. Sorry, James.
It really was. You asked me who my favorite actor was. I said Timothy Chalamet, but then I was going to say James Franco, right on top of him.
He's a director and a filmmaker.
He's directing. He's doing everything. And he's repeating scenes from The Room almost perfectly through all of this, and playing this
but that's not a movie that needed to be brought to the big screen.
Who's like a guy from Mars.
I did not need to see a recreation of a movie that was arguably the biggest bomb in the history of cinema.
Well, a very popular bad movie. I mean, I've never seen The Room. Seen The Disaster Artist,
and I never will.
Want to see The Room.
Never,
because I've seen the good version of it.
But I don't. This
is a fantastic movie about untalented people who can't be stopped.
A slice of life of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I just think it was fascinating to see.
It was,
the guys
just fascinating.
I suspect when you're as successful as James Franco, to see someone who is really pulling themselves up by the seat of their own pants and be able to self-hypnotize themselves on such a profound level and actually execute.
You have to respect that.
Because you have to have respect for that, because it takes 300 to 400 people to make a movie, and nobody can make up their mind, and everybody has their own opinion, and then they don't sell it because the marketing sucks so bad. So to actually pull the trigger and execute, listen, it wasn't my movie, but I have to say, it wasn't my movie in terms of, that I loved it and would recommend it, but I completely understand where he was coming from by doing this, because he has been so successful. But you have to remember that his success was contingent on all those 300 people. This guy was so successful that even though his movie just blew chunks, 10 years later, someone is making a movie about it and it's being nominated.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah.
WTF?
And he's making tons of money still off The Room. I wrote a story today. The Room is going to get a one day, but 500 screen re-release in January.
There you go.
And it'll be sold out.
And it will be sold out like all the midnight movies.
And you know what?
Because that's when it played at midnight for a long time.
Paying this guy back. And I think that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Zorianna, we got to go to you. What's happening with Sea Shepherd?
All right. So for those of you who are familiar, I run media and co-run production at Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. So we are a 40-year organization founded by Captain Paul Watson. If you've ever watched Whale Wars on TV on Animal Planet, that's us. We were very fearless in ramming the Japanese whalers, but we do lots more than just take on Japanese whalers. We have 11 ships around the world, a navy of 11, and we do all sorts of conservation work, a lot of it tackling illegal poachers, saving species from extinction. Last week was a very big week for us. We launched our 11th ship, and it was christened the MV Sharpie, named after a man named Chris Sharp, who works in the medical field, the all-natural medical field. And so we named the ship after him, but his nickname is Sharpie. So instead of just being called Sharp, it's the MV Sharpie. But our other ships are named after our supporters and donors. Like we have the MV Bob Barker, the MV Bridget Bardot, we have the Sam Simon, we have the Martin Sheen, the John Paul DeJoria. So Chris Sharp is our latest addition to the fleet. So that was really exciting. And the ship actually has the distinction of being listed as the first marine conservation yacht. Normally when you register a ship, they're a pleasure vessel or a commercial vessel, but this one, the Sharpie, is registered as an environmental ship, which is a very big deal because it is unprecedented.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sounds
Very
fantastic.
much. Yeah. And tomorrow we are putting out a video. We put out pictures today, but we intercepted a shark finning ship that was disguised as a legal fishing boat. And this was done off the coast of Liberia with the Liberian government. And we boarded the ship, And not only were they not fishing legally, they were fishing illegally, deep fishing for sharks, and sharks are being decimated across the world for shark fin soup. But to our horror, in addition to finding the sharks that they were fishing illegally, they had a shark oil facility down at the bottom of the ship that they were instantly producing shark oil for sale and consumption. It was devastating. It was horrific, just an environmental travesty. And the video of what we found will be out tomorrow. So you can go to seashepherd.org or seashepherdglobal.org, and it's the global division that intercepted the ship in Liberia. And I'm very proud to work for an organization like that, because there's no more important time than to care about our oceans and to care about the environment, because the government sure doesn't, and they've made that abundantly clear. And so also at this time of year, when you're buying gifts for all your friends and family, please consider donating to Sea Shepherd. You can do everything from buying clothes at our e-store to getting a donation for someone in their honor, to just making a monthly donation. We have something called a direct action crew, where you contribute monthly without fail. And so every little bit helps, because we are a nonprofit and we are donor supported and donor funded. And we would not have 11 ships around the world if it wasn't for generous supporters, from the Bob Barkers and the Sam Simons and the Martin Sheens right down to people like yourselves with donations. So don't forget.
Elena, quickly tell people where they can find you and what you got coming up.
Well, they can find me on Facebook, they can find me on Instagram and Twitter, and what I have coming up, we're pitching a reality show about female empowerment reality show. At the moment, can't tell you exactly what it is until it's done, but hopefully we'll come back when we get it going. I have a feature film, a thriller, which is set in Kentucky on a military base, and it's about the war that comes home, and about the post-traumatic shock syndrome, and how all of this soldiers come and bring that to their families, and how the families have to deal with it as well. And I have a feature coming out, which I co-produced, called Wonderwall, and that's going to be out sometime in the spring. And several other projects. One of them is called Very Busy Woman, and that is going to be a web series as well as an internet blog and all other things feeding in it, which is geared towards women who I think are really stressed out in these times.
Well, when you do your reality show, I know 3 other empowered women. I'm just saying. Just saying.
And give your website.
Huh?
Give your website.
Just 3?
Yes.
Well, just 3 in the media.
The website is verybusywoman.com.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's what?
Verybusywoman.com.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm very busy. I didn't hear it. Yeah.
Jacqueline?
Well, I hope to be even more busy this year. I'm making my film The Admired into a TV series. You could see snippets of the web series on our website, theadmired.com. My website, jacquelinemurphy.net. We're up on IMDb, The Admired movie and the TV series. And I'm Jacqueline Actor at Twitter, Jacqueline Murphy 13 on Instagram, and at The Admired Film on Twitter. And Happy New Year to everybody. I hope all your dreams come true.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bob?
Happy New Year, everyone.
I just want to say that my 3rd favorite film of the year was The Florida Project.
Oh, great.
For all the reasons Zorianna likes and all the reasons Gayl probably hates.
Okay.
And your website.
Yeah.
How can they find you?
Our website is simply dailynews.com. Everything I write about film usually also appears in our 10 other Southern California papers and on their individual websites, including the Orange County Register, Long Beach Press-Telegram, Pasadena Star-News, basically every newspaper in Southern California except something called The Times. I don't know why people read that.
Yes.
Okay.
Gayl, talk about your book and everything.
I don't hate anything. It's just an expression that I use.
It's all right, Gayl.
I don't hate anything. It's either my cup of tea or it's just
It's all love
warm
here,
water.
Gayl. It's all about love.
Yeah.
Talk about your book. Very
so
important.
I don't want to be, too drastic. My book is called Interview Tactics: How to Survive the Media Without Getting Clobbered, The Insider's Guide to Giving a Killer Interview. And so you can find that at interviewtactics.com. You could also come to gaylmurphy.com. That's G-A-Y-L, no E, Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y, gaylmurphy.com. I will be covering TCA starting the beginning of January, so you can find me in Pasadena on the 11th of January.
Oh my God, it's almost here already.
I know. At the 11th of January, I will be at the Broadcast Film Critics Awards, of which I am a founding member.
Oh, nice.
I'm happy to say. Yep.
I am a member,
I'll
so
see
I
you
will
there.
be there.
I
won't be
actually
there.
vote in the Broadcast Film Critics, and I'm also SAG-AFTRA, so I also vote in the SAG Awards.
Won't see you there.
Yeah, so you won't see me there either. After so many years of covering music at big events, huge events, I don't like to even leave the house anymore. It's just kind of crazy.
Give your
Netflix and
website
chill,
one more
man.
time.
Yeah.
It's the
Give
greatest
your website
thing.
one more time.
Oh, it's Gayl. My website is gaylmurphy.com. But you're better off going to see me on Facebook. I'm at the Gayl Murphy. On Twitter, it's Gayl Murphy. And I like to yak. I like to stir the
Stuff.
pot is my most favorite thing.
Did you look if the domain name for stirthepot.com was taken? 'Cause maybe.
Yeah, no, I'll be doing that like right now. I'll be checking that out
Yeah.
right now if some other blonde isn't checking it out at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Got it. That's it. I'm telling you.
All right, Gwen.
It's like, I hate this
Gwen,
fucking
tell people how to reach you.
So I have coming up, I'm going to India to support my mother's healing camp, where she's going to be offering energy healing to people who need it, with 30 of her students who have been trained in Germany. And when I get back, I'm going to be working on a TV series that I'm working on right now. It's called California, and it's an independent TV series. So yeah.
And how can people reach you if they want to hire you?
So on all social media, I am Gwenn Wunderlich. It's Gwenn and then Wunderlich, Wunderlich. And I'm very easy to find. I have my website, it's gwennwunderlich.com. And to answer your question from before, I will go see The Shape of Water.
You
After
should.
this discussion,
You
I'm probably going to
should.
do it right tomorrow.
Good.
So, yeah.
I want to thank everybody for being here. Great discussion, especially Bob, arguing things. Obviously, Gayl, thank you. Jacqueline coming.
I'm
surprised.
sorry.
Listen, I'm surprised
Everybody.
you're not wearing teal today.
Well, he told me not to because there was a green screen. You know, and then they turned me into a fish man. You know,
We could keep
digitally
going.
or
I
anything greenish.
want to thank Brian because
Yes,
I
me too.
actually worked with Brian sometimes 3 times a week for like 15 frickin' years.
Longer than that.
No kidding. Even I was just being kind because we're both so young. But I've seen Brian the first day he walked into a radio room to actually watching him create all of this and just be the puppet master for his entire career. I mean, talk about self-done and dusted. Where nobody, of course, I always believed in you. You knew that because we would
We would talk
kindred
about
spirits
stuff.
from the beginning.
I always wondered what the hell you did,
Yeah,
but now I know.
we were kindred spirits from the beginning, and
So did the people at
I
TCA.
always knew that he lived a double life, and I always supported him wholeheartedly in whatever. It's like being happy for someone else's happiness. It doesn't really matter what it is if it makes them happy. But I always knew he was building something, and I always supported him, and I continue to support him. And thank you for supporting me today.
Like I
for
said.
introducing us to each other.
Well, like I said, I'm glad that everybody's here. That's most important. Hey, I support gender empowerment, and I love that Zorianna brought Sea Shepherd in, and I think that's great. And for everybody, if you see someone out of smile, please give them one of yours because we need it. Thank you.
Hard-boiled eggs for everyone, and teal Cadillacs too.
You're listening to Movie Reviews and More with Brian Sebastian, only on LA Talk Radio.